let's introduce our players here to get started. This is KR Bob here in the blue Vanguard, and his opponent will be AIM in the red Vanguard. And as he mentioned, his dog's already across the map here, chipping on a couple Bob's feet.
Yeah, I don't know what the I guess it's to be annoying. Eventually he might be able to kill a Bob, but then all that AIM has to do is just spend not even one complete second to do a heal hug, and then the Bob's back up to full, and yeah, there we go. Like now the dog is just useless.
It is
I
just
think
kind
it's
of be annoying. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's annoying, but it's not getting a lot of actual impact.
yeah.
It's forcing micro, I think, and we see AIM is doing a good job of responding, although that one Bob is getting a little low. I think AIM was getting a little annoyed and he turned his Bob to attack instead and said, okay, just get out of here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back home, Bob has put up a command post of his own, and it looks like AIM's dog is also being annoying.
Yeah, it does force a little bit of micro. I think it I mean really all it does, there we go. See they do the heal hugs and then they're
Heel
back to
hugs.
fine.
Yep.
The I guess the only decision making that has to happen there is like, okay, do I have to have my one patrolling Bob that's not building? Do I use that to attack the dog, or do I use that to heal? Because attacking the dog is nice because eventually you're going to force it to leave and go get a health cabbage. But at the same time, it's like, okay, do I just ignore it and keep building? I guess there's a little bit of decision making there, but overall, like you said at the very beginning of the game, they're just annoying. You
Yeah.
know, like not like the kill isn't going to happen, but the annoying part has to be there. I think that's part of the Vanguard dance that has to happen before like we can get into the actual game.
I agree. I agree, and it happens in all the matchups because the scouts there, at least when there's a vanguard in the matchup. Now we see Bob's coming across the map here. I imagine this might be for a sentry post rush. Let's see if he puts one down. Now he does, and it's battling sentry posts. We have both of them putting up a sentry post at the same time. Who's gonna get it first? We have one lancer chopping down Bob's.
I think this is kind of doomed for aim, just because KR Bob's were they were what do you call it?
Overcharged.
Charged.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were overcharged. So they built faster, and now like, yeah, the bounce is going to be a little bit painful from the buzzsaw cannon on the Bobs, but the fact that they can repair and the fact that the buzzsaw cannon got done first means that I think this is just a straight up win for KR Bob.
I think you might be right here. At least you called it so far. Although those Bobs tried to go back and get a little bit of hug going on. And AIM has 3 Lancers here. But we do see a Hedgehog drop out, and that's just adding added DPS to that Buzzsaw Cannon.
Yeah, I think if you're going to do a sentry post rush, it needs to happen much earlier than that. And I like, in my opinion, ideally it would go kind of where the command post would go. So not only are you body blocking and preventing that eco from coming online, but you're also like, I sorry, let me back up. You're serving a dual purpose of blocking the eco to make sure that your opponent can't produce, hedgehogs or sentry posts. So like you're denying them the ability to respond as well. Um, but I think he built a couple of barracks first before doing the sentry post rush, so that might have delayed things a bit.
Yeah, what
And
we don't see him putting his own command post down behind this, so I'm not sure what his follow up's going to be.
yeah, I'm not sure either. He definitely needs to catch up in eco, and I think that's what he's trying to do with this. Oh, did he get it, or was that KR Bob's? I think KR Bob sniped it.
I can't wait until there's some obvious visual cue,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah, just
it's
like a little blue luminite symbol that pops up
exactly.
over their head, or a blue or a red one, or I don't know.
Exactly, because it's so satisfying to watch them fight over it, and of course they know if they got the last kill because they'll get the visual cue, but we don't get to see that. So
Yeah, a little cha-ching and a dollar noise with their color on it or something. I don't know. I don't know.
exactly, I love it. I do like how when you salvage your buildings, there is this big dollar sign that appears above it.
Yeah,
That
hey, that's what I mean. Like the asset's already there. Like we can
yeah,
just implement that
yeah.
over the creep. That'd be fun.
Throw a blue and a red color fade on it or something, and now you've got team colors. I think you're onto something.
There you go.
Well, it looks like Bob stabilized from that early push. As you said, he kind of defended it quite well. He did lose some Bobs in that attack, but he's got a few hedgehogs hanging out by the repair turret to guard the front, and he's been out on the map with his own lancers, finding this path through the middle.
Yeah, and I'm surprised we don't see more bobs on that on the Luminite in his natural, just because he's had such a a lot longer of a time to be building up his eco. I think it does kind of look like he's getting his oh no, he's been supply blocked.
Oh, has he? He's oh he
Yeah.
is right now at the moment you mentioned. So yes, now these lancers are getting in here, and these are what Bob's lancers like to do, which is kill workers. So he's right in the worker
Yeah.
line.
Is he gonna get? I think he got a couple.
It looks like he got
But
two or three, but yeah, there's a lot of answer here. He's just trying to chop a few more down, but I don't think he's going to get another. No.
Yeah. Okay, so we saw some Habs coming online here. So his max supply is a little bit higher, but I really think he's every minute that he's not using to get further ahead in eco, I think is maybe an opportunity wasted. He can afford to sit back a little bit with his hedgehogs and really saturate that Luminite.
You know,
But yeah, he is getting there.
I
He is getting
wonder
there.
if that Lancer push wasn't to just free up a little supply while he was blocked and waiting for those habitats to come. So
Yeah,
he
you're
could
right.
pump out a little more eco, and it looks like he got more hedgehogs out of it too.
Yep. And he's slowly accumulating veterancy. There we go. We see the one chevron veterancy showing up on that hedgehog a little bit forward, which is another something else that I think a lot of people don't appreciate is like even a single chevron of veterancy on units is pretty significant in terms of damage output and HP and like the survivability overall of that unit. So having like single chevron units, they're worth keeping alive. They're worth healing. They're worth like the whole design philosophy behind the Vanguard is like preserve your vets, like keep your units alive, and it'll pay off in the long run. Because yeah, just one by one, like after a while, these single chevron become two chevrons, or more of your army gets that single chevron without you having to spend any of that orbital energy, which is so precious when it comes to like overcharging your bobs or throwing down a shields up or something like that. Like that orbital energy is so precious that you want to conserve it. So why not use that use the creeps to get that veterancy, you know?
I completely agree. One thing that, as you mentioned, is part of the design philosophy of the Vanguard is that then they can also have all these skills that help them heal up, med techs and repair turrets, things like this, that will help those units preserve themselves and then make sure that they get the most out of that veterancy. Now it looks like these hedgehogs and medtechs are moving across the map, so while they did take some time to do a little bit of map control and taking camps, it looks like there might be a little aggression after that maybe non-standard start where we had the bunker rush and Lancer opening. This looks a little more like what we were talking about, right, Frank? Hogs and hogs.
Yeah, hog dog composition until it's time to tech out of it. It's just deciding how to tech out of it because
Ooh,
the hedgehogs are so. Oh, we do see a pretty big engagement here. The shields up
wow.
going down
The shields
on that
up and the promote that saved
yeah.
its life. That could might do it here. Aim's actually getting the better of this, I think. Although now we see nanoswarms going down to heal those remaining hedgehogs.
Yeah, AoE heal is like such a cool idea that I don't think I've seen in other RTS games where like you plop down a heal on one of your friendly units and it heals units around it, which is super nice. It also gives I I keep forgetting about it the moment I see the heals go down. I just think it's like, oh, it's like the cleric in Warcraft 3 or it's like a medevac in StarCraft 2, but it also gives armor when it heals. You get I think it's
Ooh.
15 armor when the heal goes down. I don't
Oh.
know if that's the same with
Is
but
that for the
that's
nanoswarm
on just like the
or for the bioheal or
I
both?
think it's for the bio heal actually.
Okay, very
Yeah, I
cool.
think it is for the bio heal.
And now I'm learning something from you, Frank. You mentioned last time that you learned from me, and now I'm learning from you. Good. I'm glad we're casting together.
Yeah, same. Also, yeah, that repair-o-matic that's going to be in Bob's natural that he was kind of forced to build is going to pay off a lot here if AIM decides to push the issue, but decides not to, and now both players are on the exact same orbital energy. They're kind of close in supply, but yeah, I think we're going to see that even up here. It's still a very even game, but going back to how do you get out of Hog Dog, because you can't tech to Hornets because the Hedgehogs are the anti-air unit for Vanguard. You can't really tech to Vulcans because they do anti-heavy damage, so they can just rush up, burst down any Vulcans, and if a shields up goes down on a Vulcan, they can just leave. They're gonna outrun a Vulcan. They'll outrun an Atlas. Getting ahead of the Hog Dog composition is a question that's not easily answered. I'd be curious to know, like, what do you think the strats are, or how do you force someone to get out of Hog Dog? It looks like Atlases are KR Bob's decision, but is that going to be Atlas evac? I don't know.
I think you did make a couple good points there. One thing is, I mean, some of the units you mentioned, like a Vulcan, can be good, right? But as you said, the Vulcan's also slow, so it stops becoming a tool for aggression, and it starts to become a tool for defense. And maybe that's the way you get out of this, is by having to relinquish map control a little bit. So, for instance, Bob has done that. Now it looks like he is going to move across the map, but in tow he has three atlases. So maybe we're seeing exactly what you're talking about happening right now.
Yeah, Atlases seem like a good tool offensively here, just because if they siege up in range of some very valuable stuff, it's going to force AIM to take the fight and either engage the Atlases, during which time they're going to be taking damage from all the other Hedgehogs, or oh well, here's the engagement now.
Here we got it. Those first atlas shots are actually really getting some good hits. Ooh, some nice micro there from AIM too, to split his hedgehogs to try and avoid the atlas shots. Focus firing down Bob's hedgehogs, but not engaging the atlases yet. One of them's really low. Could be focused.
Beautiful connections on these Atlases, and they do a
Yes.
ton of damage when they're unsieged as well. I think it might be time to unsiege them and have them just do normal DPS. The medtechs being able to heal each other up is nice, and they do get that armor bonus on themselves, which makes them kind of like off tank, like healer off tanks. They do shoot water balloons, but that's not going to be nearly enough to break through this hog Vulcan line. And yeah, now we're back to everything being chased back to KR Bob's natural, and he hasn't taken a third yet. AIM, however, has taken a third, so I think he's doing a bit of an Uno reverse. I'm going to get my eco up faster than yours, even though you've had the advantage. I think KR Bob just didn't push his eco advantage early enough. Not
Ooh,
not as
now we
early as
see
he
a
should have
stasis
anyway.
drone going down on that Vulcan.
Stasis drone is nice, but I'm not in the education world. I don't claim to be good at math. I majored in English out of university, but I do have a feeling that more hedgehogs beats less hedgehogs, and that's why AIM is going to be able to keep KR Bob kind of contained back into his corner and said, "Go back, let me eco up. I have more Bobs that need to get more resources, so I can just go for the kill."
Yes, more is still better than less most of the time,
Okay,
even if you've
confirmed.
got some good micro there. So,
I need to
but
write
we'll
that down.
see.
Hold on.
We'll see if Bob is going to be able to build back up. He has got re-added some hedgehogs, but I think you were right that the atlases moved across the map. It was looked like a good deal, but then, as you sort of predicted, they were slow, and once the tides turned in AIM's favor, they were unfortunately had to be sacrificed. The whole army was lost.
So what I'm curious as to what if we could rewind time. If we could turn back time, and go back to that fight, do you like AIM took some huge shots from those Vulcans? Do
Hmm.
you think he should have focused down the Vulcans earlier and kept microing around at the expense of doing DPS to the Hedgehogs, or was AIM correct in keeping the fire on the Hedgehogs and just microing away the units that were underneath of the little radius of death? from the Vulcans or from the Atlases,
From
excuse
the
me.
Atlases. Yeah, so I, I'm never gonna say much about the micro of a pro like AIM or KR Bob. One thing I will say is, in the situation like that, there was so many choices that need to be made, right? So while you're microing your hedgehogs to try and maybe focus down an atlas, you also are trying to split your hedgehogs so they're not taking those huge shots from the atlases, right? And what I did see there was a real good engage, and AIM did come out the better of it. So I think he probably did what he needed. Now it looks like he is
Yeah.
going to push right in here,
Oh, it's
and
a huge catch.
here goes some bobs. Bobs start getting. Ooh, look at those Vulcans just melting those bobs.
Yeah.
And bye bye
I think
command
because there
post.
wasn't an early enough of a reaction, I think he could have even pushed a little bit further into that choke between the trees to kind of like get more DPS on the bobs as they were leaving. But no, he did tons of damage. It's still fine.
Yeah,
Took out a bunch of bobs and the command post as well.
and having fun just jump jetting down some trees at the same time. I mean, why
Yeah,
not?
mowing lawns once you get to like a critical mass of units where like is really important, I think, just so you're not trickling units. If you have a bigger army, you want a wider open space. So making sure that you're, yeah, there we go. We see another charge through, just to make sure those hedgehogs, his greater number of hedgehogs can get through. Beautiful stasis drones though going down, and
Yeah.
I think Arrow Bob's going to come out on top of this one.
Although there's a huge hero Vulcan right in the middle there. Now it's shield up Vulcan versus shield up Vulcan. Wow, jump jets stunning on both of them. Now you're right. Here comes some more huge stasis drones, and you called it. KR Bob came out on top.
Cheeky little Graven sticky bomb too as well is going to be super nice. Actually, okay, that's the unit that I keep forgetting about that makes a huge difference, especially for. I think the impression right now in the community is that highly mobile units like the Hedgehog and the Vector are overpowered. And I think to a degree that they're right. Like at tier 2, highly mobile units are the name of the game, but when you get units that can hinder another unit's mobility, like suddenly that advantage goes away. Suddenly like the Vulcans can dash forward and do a lot more damage of
Yep,
sustained fire as those units are trying to leave.
yep. As we see it right there, those stasis drones basically limiting those hedgehogs completely from moving, and the Vulcans are able to slowly walk right on top of them and melt them. And it's Care Bob who's right now up inside aim. Look at that, another nanoswarm bubble going down. Of course, that protects against range attack. Bob doesn't really need to sit in it right now. There's only a single hedgehog, and it goes down. This looks like it could be the end.
There's something really soothing about this Sim City. Everything's like nicely laid. It's got like a very Factorio feel to it, you know?
Look at all those mech bays just working so hard to pump out anything to save the day. It looks like it's Vulcans coming out of, yeah, 2 Vulcans, 2 hedgehogs. But it's
Yeah.
just focus fire to unfortunately melt them before they can do much.
Yeah, much like the Terrans of StarCraft 2, I think once you're sitting on top of the production of your opponent, in this case, it's basically game over.
Yeah.
It seems like, I don't know if over at the 4th of AIM, if he's got more production coming online and he's just sacrificing his main just because it's not really useful to him anymore. It's
Yeah.
completely mined out. I think he got the upgrades that he wanted. Yeah, he's got more mech bays coming online. We'll see if it's going to be enough. I don't think his natural is close to being mined out. We have no way of knowing. But oh, throwing down infiltrates on the command
Infiltrates.
structure is really good.
Yeah.
Oh. The infiltrates, of course, disabling the top bar spells for aim. The amount of damage that they do on command structures is nice as well, but disabling top bar is so strong, especially in this game where top bar is like it is mandatory. It's not almost mandatory. It is mandatory to be using those spells for macro, for fights, for everything. So being able to turn that off for 30 seconds is nothing to sleep on. I would almost think that leaving a command post alive so that you can infiltrate it before you go into a fight would be really strong. Oh, and there's a Vulcan right behind a Repair-O-Matic, though. Oh, it gets
Oh.
burst down anyway.
Yeah. And there's an infiltrate on a Repair-O-Matic. Takes out the whole sentry post, and finally we get a GG out of aim. Okay, and here we are into game number 2, and this is going to be AIM in the blue Vanguard, and his opponent KR Bob in the red Vanguard, spawning here in the bottom left of Isle of Dread. So what do you think about Isle of Dread for this matchup, Frank?
Isle of Dread is so. Yesterday, I cast a game in Isle of Dread where it was I typically like Isle of Dread games because they go the distance, because there's so much freedom of movement, and there's so many camps to take. But in the it was a VVI, I believe, and I do like seeing late game high tech armies with a lot of sophistication and 300 supply for both sides, and it's cool to see those fights. The issue is that there's so many camps that by the time if the players decide to split the map in half, by the time you finish taking the last camp on your side, the first camp resets, and it there's threat there that your opponent might take your camp and get the eco benefit from it. So it almost turns into like a farming sim. I've not to say that I don't like Isle of Dread, but I think Isle of Dread, there's more potential for the games to stall out until both players are at 300 with every upgrade, and then they just kind of have to A move at each other and not do little one-off skirmishes, which I would prefer. I think that would actually be, it's not great because you know that when you harass, you're basically going to lose those units if you do run bys or whatever. But I think this map is big enough that we don't have to like go back into this death ball versus death ball mentality. Like there's enough room to do drops. There's enough room to do like run bys. I think it's much more interesting to watch, and it's definitely I think a better expression of skill to see like, okay, how can I get the best value out of out of like multiple small engagements instead of rushing for like dashing all my Vulcans forward, throwing down a shields up, throwing down sentinel bubbles, and just letting the math work out the rest. I think there's a lot to be said for how annoying can you be for your opponent while just giving them the death by 1,000 cuts.
Now, while you were speaking there, did you check out that dog on dog battle going on there? That was a little bit crazy. I think we saw KR Bob distracting these dogs of aim for almost a full minute there when they could have been out on the map. And I really think that's something that's probably going to come into this game, because while that was going on, KR Bob went ahead and built a wall and a second base. So yeah, there's a ton of dogs on the map, and they're definitely going to have map control. But again, they were delayed there for about a minute. What do you think about that?
I'm sorry, I got caught up in something else. Dog battles are always really interesting. I hope it doesn't turn into. I mean, I know it won't turn into the old mass dog meta where like each game just turned into the dog fire hose. Again, though, my favorite unit in the game is the repair-o-matic, and I think I think you can stop a lot of the dog hose builds just by having a single repair-o-matic where it's like, okay, now I've got something that will like heal up all of my. Oh my god, they do so much damage. I do like the fact that they got the increased damage to creeps though. It does help keep them relevant in the late game, and that like the fact that people use them now to see up cliffs or to see flying units that are trying to hide like above trees or above impassable terrain.
Right.
Um,
They're also detectors, right? So you
yeah,
can, yeah.
there's so much utility behind these dogs. I think it's nice to see people still using them for other than just like, hey, it's a 50 luminite, kind of does DPS anti-light thing. The fact that it's also so fast and can body block some of the faster tier 2 units like hedgehogs is super nice to see that there's like micro potential there where we can watch the pros like really pull off some sick moves when it comes to like, hey, I'm gonna cut off this avenue of retreat. So if your hedgehogs try to like leave my hedgehogs, they're gonna be stuck in this position, or end up taking more damage or whatever. And they're cheap. Like, why not make a ton of them?
All right. So we're going to see a real interesting clash of techs, I think, because as you mentioned, look at how many dogs we got here. And they are with their Beryllium Claws now, which has increased damage versus light. But over here, We've got Bob showing up. He's got a single Vulcan that looks like he's here to mow the lawn, as you put it, to knock down these trees. And he's got with him a couple Lancer escorts. Now, remind me, are any of them light?
Lancers? Lancers are
Lancers are
not light.
heavy.
Yeah.
Vulcan's heavy. Those Beryllium Claws are not going to be doing anything against these units. And it's been a heavy commitment for aim here to this dog tech. And here's Bob knocking down the back door, or mowing down the back
Yeah, this is
lawn.
going to be a huge problem. I think, yeah, having anti-light is the philosophy for the other two, or for anything facing Infernals. But as someone facing against Vanguard, like I think Hedgehogs are mandatory, not just out of an offensive, like hey they're really good, but defensively, like you're saying, these are
Yeah.
all heavy tagged. Like you need something that can fight these off, and there's not a there's not a single anti-heavy unit in this entire composition so far, and they're going to chase off this entire worker line and get so much AoE damage done on these Bob with
Oh,
that Vulcan.
wow. So many Bobs going down. And now the dogs are going to show up. They got their little lightning legs, at least some of them. But let's see. Shield going down and a promote going down on the Vulcan. And we see Lancers and Vulcans both doing the bonus damage versus these dogs. There's just so many dogs, though. Normally, more beats less. Let's see what happens.
Normally, I think these dogs are having the same problem that Fiends are having, that they think that surrounding the Lancers is a good idea.
Right.
I think Lancers are the opposite. You need glass cannon units to go up against Lancers because they're so tanky.
Yeah.
They do so much damage, and like the more you surround them, the more value that they get with each swing. So it almost works out better to not be surrounding them, just because they're going to be hitting more units at once. But
Right.
how do you do that with like the production that you've got right now? I don't know that you can.
So now that was a single Vulcan and 3 Lancers, right? That's pretty small army, and it did kind of tear through everything that AIM had. Of course, the Hornet was the one thing that kind of came out unscathed. We now see 3 dogs going across the map, but what are they going to do against this? There's already a huge defense force waiting.
Yeah, AIM might have been hoping that it was going to be Dog Wars, and hoping that KR Bob wouldn't go into higher tech. Maybe hoping that it would turn into Hog Dog, but clearly with these, we have a much more sophisticated army coming out here from KR Bob. But I think it's a little early for the med techs personally. If I were to absolutely nitpick, it's not. I think KR Bob can still win here.
Yeah, now here's what I think those dogs were for, is to engage hedgehogs. I think AIM was hoping this was, as you said, be maybe dog hog, because dogs can be quite good against the hedgehogs in that early game. But unfortunately, he misread KR Bob's opening, and Bob went into Lancer Vulcan instead. Now here we see a bunch of dogs trying to get on top of those hedgehogs. We have offensive nano swarms on the dogs. Those trees getting in the way.
I'm loving that offensive nano swarm. It's such a cool utility to make the medics more relevant than just, hey, they stay in the back line and they heal.
Okay, here we are into game number 3 with AIM again in the blue Vanguard, and KR Bob here in the red. And we see AIM's scout immediately finding the right direction and seeing Bob mining Ethereum. I'm not sure what that tells you, maybe. Whereas Bob went the wrong direction, but he's now turned his dog back, going, he determined based on AIM's dog showing up where AIM must be, and he's heading in there. But look what AIM's doing. Building a barracks.
Proxy barracks, yeah.
A little secret.
Well, not proxy, but hidden.
Yeah.
Very hidden barracks.
And now
So
a
I think
second
is
one.
the mind game supposed to be that it's just one barracks?
Yeah.
And then is he trying to show KR Bob, it's like, hey, it's just one barracks. I'm going into an expand after this, and then he's again is AIM gonna try and dog rush again? I don't.
Or maybe it looks like he's trying to go just one racks into a mech bay, going straight for hedgehogs. Ooh,
Okay.
Bob gets the cabbage, and AIM is gonna go. Oh no! Just in time, the Bob shows up with the heal, but he's now gonna have to run back to the other Bob, the safety of the other Bobs, and indeed he does get some healing hugs. Looks like KR
I think
Bob.
this. I think that's a case of overplaying the game. I think if AIM would have kept his dog back and let a single Bob heal up the dog while KR Bob's dog went to go get the cabbage.
Oh, but now
Like
it's
he
three
wouldn't have been in
Bobs.
danger, and he wouldn't have had to pull so many dogs. But now it's 3 dogs versus 1.
And that guy's going to go down.
No!
Now it's Bob's out on the map for AIM. I don't know where they were going. They're just going to hug out here and try and tank. Look at this. Just going to, like two zombies in the apocalypse, are just going to hug each other. And
The power of friendship kept them alive.
it did for quite a while.
It did, yeah. I'm not kidding.
And here we have a single Bob here. I see where the Bobs were trying to go. They wanted to get here and make this sentry post, but sentry posts build quickly when there's a bunch of Bobs, but pretty slowly, actually, if there's only one Bob. Ooh, and a bunch of dogs coming back to help out.
Yeah.
Now, you said dogs don't want to necessarily surround a Lancer. But when you got this many versus a single one, I think that could do pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. Lancers individually on the map are not great, but I think it's a really cool design choice to make Lancers do exponentially better when they're fighting shoulder to shoulder or fighting in a blob, just because they have. I don't know. It almost. I don't want to say it's like the Spartan phalanx in that movie 300, where like
Exactly.
if they all put their backs to each other, like they can fight off so much better. But they really can.
They can. Yeah.
And it just plays out so much better.
Look at these poor Lancer boys.
Oh no, that's all right. They're close enough to a main that they can get mined out of there with a Bob, but it's a matter of whether or not AIM's gonna know that they're there and not just like letting these Lancers take a bit of a vacation. That is unfortunate, though.
Here these Lancers come. They wish their compatriots could have joined them. Bobs finally are able to get a sentry post up, it looks like. Are they going to get it finished? But once again, Bob's sentry post is up first.
Yeah. Bob's sentry post is up first, so that means it's
Oh, and they're not within range of the buzzsaw.
Oof, ouch, owie, my bones, and it was taking damage that entire time from the
sentry post, yeah.
From just the vanilla sentry post, which is getting healed up by the
repair turret over there too.
By the repair-matic right behind it. So I think again, AIM has come forward aggressively with sentry turrets, which I believe is the Vanguard's best unit in the game.
Sure is. It's a good one.
Like every other unit, you just have to know how to use it.
And now Hedgehog's out for Bob, and that's going to give him a little bit more range on these units. Lancers, of course, doing pretty good against him if they can get on top of them.
Yeah.
It's about getting some good micro down for Bob, and he's doing a pretty good job so far.
That's an interesting decision point too for AIM, whether or not he wants to put a Lancer inside of this turret to do that bonus anti-light damage to these Hedgehogs and get good bounce shots, or to make it a repair-matic to keep the Bobs alive.
Right.
Oh, this Bob's
ooh, and it manages to stay alive.
There you go. Now your Buzzsaw is going to start doing some real damage.
So now it's double Buzzsaw, and Bobs are on the repair. So this actually could go AIM's way. If he's lucky here, he might force another game.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is starting to look a lot better for AIM now. The repair-matics in the back, though, for KR Bob are keeping a lot, basically, very much alive. Oh, the repair, like, who repairs the repair-matic? No one, so it goes down. And that means that, this Hab and maybe the Mech Bay, I think there's better targets. I think there's better targets for AIM to go after, other than that Mech Bay, but he's sitting pretty right now. And we don't see a counterattack coming out of KR Bob just yet.
Although Bob's Hedgehogs are coming back. I think they may have been trying to be a little aggressive there. Oh, actually, I wonder what happened to this Rex. I think maybe AIM salvaged it to free his dudes.
Oh yeah, that might be the case. And actually, now that you mention it, I think these Hedgehogs are in a very strong position just because of the repair-matic that's over in the Bob line.
Right.
If they get injured, they can just go back there, get healed up.
Right, and now they're getting veterancies.
Yeah, Yep. Yep.
And they've
This.
already cleared out 2 of those buzzsaw turrets. There's only one left. He's going down on this barracks. And like you said, they're repaired up. And they're just going to come out and strike again.
I think this would actually be a really good opportunity for AIM to wait for a little bit and maybe expand. He's got KR Bob kind of on the back foot here, and his buzzsaw turrets are doing really good damage. I think it's time to expand and force KR Bob to go up against a 2 base Vanguard when he's still picking up the pieces from his base. And I think he doesn't have a single barracks out right now, right?
He's
I think
got,
one's coming online, but that's it.
yeah. And he does have the money to expand, as you said, but he's also been pumping these dogs who have gone around the map and claimed every healing camp. So he's been getting that income from the camps, on top of which he now has 4 times the healing boost from the healing
Yeah.
camps, which is certainly going to be a huge boost. And what that means then, yeah, there's going to be GG from AIM. So that's going to be a quick 3-0 out of KR Bob.
GG's.